action, all that stuff.
Causing satisfaction.
Yeah. That's what goes down here with Music Maniacs with Side After Dark. So welcome back to Music Maniacs with Side After Dark. We're Side After Dark. I'm Dan Berg.
I'm Sifa Graffiti.
Go check out our music wherever you listen to music. And yeah, we're going to be talking today about, I thought I was going to say something funny, but then my brain went. Today we're talking about a legendary band that's been through a lot of changes over the years. A lot of ups and downs, as many of the greats do. We're talking about a band called Heart.
Those axe-wielding, scalping witches.
I like them. And if you're watching this, you probably like them too. So welcome. And it's funny. So when we decided that we were going to do Heart, obviously I knew a lot of Heart's music.
Yes.
But I didn't really know too much of their story.
Me neither.
So it's been really fun for me to like dive in and learn more about them.
Yeah.
And this shit goes deep.
Yeah. It really
There's
does.
a lot more into this than I even realized. So like, where do you want to start?
All the way at the beginning with Ann and Nancy, like them as like little budding singers. Why not?
Yeah. So they grew up in a military family.
Yeah.
So they were bouncing all over the place.
Yeah.
And I heard an interview with their mom that I thought was really interesting. That she was basically like, yeah, like when they were like really small, we were all over the place. We were in Panama, we were in Japan, we were blah, 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 blah. And there was no music there for us.
Right.
So we made our own.
Yeah. That's the way you got to do it sometimes.
And I like that.
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, you want to do something? You make it happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? From like a very young age.
Yeah.
So that's a great way to start.
Yeah.
And they're bouncing around. And Anne, well, there was three sisters.
Right.
But
Lynn,
the two in the band were Anne and
Nancy. Yeah.
So Anne got mono, and she was out of school for a couple weeks. And their mom was like, all right, well, I don't want you to go absolutely crazy being stuck in the house for 3 weeks, so I'm going to buy you a guitar.
Yep.
And she didn't really take to it that much.
No, she didn't. She didn't take to it that much, but somebody else did. And that was little bitty Nancy.
Little whiz fingers Nancy.
Oh, man. She
just
took it over and she just like killed it more than somebody had actually bought Nancy her own little guitar, but she said that she had problems with the strings. They were too hard to tune. So already she was like that small and already just adept at like these strings suck, like, and so she took to Anne's guitar still. So she just wanted hers. And then it just like, she said she used to sleep with a guitar. Like that's how much in love she was with it. And it obviously was in love with her too. Like, just the guitar itself, its aura, its spirit that lives in it.
Yeah. So basically their mom bought it for Anne. Anne was like, eh. And Nancy's like,
yeah.
Oh my God. And by the way, the falling asleep with the guitar thing, I've done that a few times.
That's a wonderful thing.
Not on purpose.
Yeah.
I've just been playing in my bed and then I'll wake up like hours later and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. That's great. She was like, it was like my first boyfriend. Aw.
I feel that.
I wonder what his name was.
My guitar's named Stacy. Maybe hers was named
Jerome. Dancy. It was named Dancy. It was Nancy.
It liked to dance?
It was Nancy and Dancy, her guitar.
Well, that's beautiful. I love that. So Nancy was like guitar player extraordinaire from the beginning. She was like, yes, this is what I want to do. This connects with me.
Yeah.
And then it was interesting. Apparently, she used to stutter really bad.
Yeah.
And she was able to kind of overcome that while singing.
Yeah.
Which I always think is real interesting. Because it's literally like, I mean, you're still using your voice and your throat, but it's just different parts of your brain.
Right. And there was no real pressure. I think she just had more control as a singer, and there's no real pressure to impress anybody when you already know you have a good voice. I think she knew that from the beginning. And she mainly said like she used to stutter when she was in front of somebody that was really popular, or when it was like the first day of school or like a dance, or she had to pick up the phone, anything where she had to be like on like right away. Like that's where she had the problem stuttering. But with her talent, like, she didn't she didn't feel that pressure because it was like the talent was hers. It was a part of her.
Right. It just was part. Yeah, it was part of her. So she didn't feel like she had to be putting anything on or like doing any kind of thing. Just like, this is just what I have.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And it was natural.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really cool because, you know, when you think of like rock bands, like the two big things you think of is like the guitar player and the singer.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden here you have, they're not even adult. They're not even close to being grown adults yet. And you
Right.
already kind of have the basis of a rock band.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they weren't even really thinking about that at the time.
No, they just liked singing, you know, and they did it together, you
Yeah.
know, and that's just all really what it was.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. So we're stepping forward and we've got the guitar and Anne likes to sing. But, you know, and that's her only thing because she doesn't really like school because she's not like, you know, super popular
Who
in school
does?
and stuff like that. Yeah. But in school, what all the girls kind of did like in school were the biggest band at the time that appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show and kind of made Dan.
Never heard of them. I don't know. The roaches?
I think, yeah.
The
The
insects?
the moths, the flames.
The Fabulous 10? There was 10 of them, right?
There was 10.
Yeah.
All those kids in one family.
They were from London? Or Belgium? I don't remember.
I don't know.
Hamburg. It is really crazy. Like it's so interesting. Like they come up so much in all of these stories.
They do. They really, really do. I'm like, everybody watched that show. Every 70s rocker watched that show, that episode.
Yeah, literally every well, Tom Petty was the big one, the other one that we did, but like
Yeah.
everybody, it seems like everybody that watched the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show was like, I want to do that.
Exactly.
And it was really cool because that was one of the first like self-contained bands of like they're writing and performing their own stuff.
Yeah.
Because the music industry for so long before that was like you would have the performer and you would have the writer. It
Yeah.
wasn't always the same person.
Correct.
And I think that is just as influential as the actual music was.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, like this is all them.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if I could do that with some of my buddies.
Very
Because, you
true.
know, they're just some kids from fucking Liverpool. Like, Liverpool is not even like a big city. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's really interesting how that kind of really was a spark for so many things.
Yeah, and had like tremendous effect on them. Like not Anne was saying, they grew up on a military base, so people that had hair past their ears was just like strange to them. Like, you know.
Yeah.
And what made Anne and Nancy different from all the other girls in their school who just would scream when they saw them was that they wanted to hear what they were singing. They
Right.
didn't want to like be their girlfriends. They would play games with each other at school with the girls, and they'd be like, all right, we're going to be the Beatles. So, you know, Nancy, I think she was always Paul and whatchamacallit, and Anne was always John. And she was like, I'm going to be John. And they'd ask the other girls, and the other girls would be like, what? I want to be John's cool girlfriend, like, and I would like,
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
be his wife, like, and they were like, oh God,
They
like,
weren't interested in like the personalities
Yeah.
of it. They were like, oh, I like the music.
Yes.
And that's really going to be the recurring theme throughout this episode is that it's all about the music. That's the
Yeah.
only thing that really fucking matters.
Yeah.
And that's going to come up a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were bouncing around, military family, military brats, as they say. I don't know why that's the term. It seems kind of rude,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I don't know.
But that's not really here or there.
Yeah.
So they end up in Seattle. Mm-hmm. And obviously now they're a little older. They're able to like really like kind of find themselves.
Yeah.
And Anne obviously wanted to be in a band.
Yes.
So she answered a newspaper article that of a band that was looking for a singer. And this is what gets really interesting. I did not know that they didn't start Heart.
Right.
Like I thought that it was always their band.
Yeah.
But it's not because she joined up with these other guys. What was it? It was Roger Fisher,
Yes.
Steve something on bass. I don't remember his last name.
Right.
And then Michael something on drums, like
Yes.
DeBrozier or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Steve, I want to say Fossend. I want to say that's the last name, but
Yeah.
yeah. So they started out, and she was the lead singer of that particular group, and so they toured. Well, they didn't really tour yet, but they were doing like little shows.
Yeah. And what they said was that when she came into audition, they were kind of immediately just like, oh, yup, this is it.
Yeah.
They're like, there's something here.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So, but during this time, Nancy's in college.
Yeah.
So she's like totally out of the picture. Like Anne's with this band. They're doing little tours in, the South, or not South, North, What are directions? Northwest. But Nancy isn't even like known to the rest of the band. It's just like they know Anne, she's the singer.
Yeah.
So they're going, and she's really like finding her voice as they're touring as well.
Yeah.
Like obviously she was already able to sing, but they said at some point, I saw an interview with Roger. He was like, yeah, at one point, we were toured, we were doing this same song that we do every single night, but then at one point she was just hitting it. And I just looked over, I was like, oh my God. And then like ever since then, she was like, that was it. And then she even said, she was like, yeah, like I really like found it like within myself at that time.
Yeah.
Which I always think is really interesting because, like, sometimes you can really hear that. And it's interesting, like, it takes different people different lengths of time to, like, really find their voice.
Right.
Like, when we reacted to all those Steely Dan albums, check out our reactions on YouTube.
Ding, ding.
We did 7 reactions to 7 Steely Dan albums. Mm-hmm. And I remember we were thinking in, like, the 3rd or 4th album, we were like, oh, this is where he finds his voice.
Right. Yeah.
But she found her voice before even recording an album.
Right. Yeah. She found it before. And it's like all of a sudden, like even just being at recording studios, people wanted to put her on B-sides of like country tracks and things like that, just like asking her to join in. And like she obviously, if you haven't heard her voice, go hear it. She's got a beautiful voice. And like, I can just imagine hearing something like that for the first time and just knowing like, I'm glad I know her. Like,
100%.
Yeah.
She sings so great. This is gonna kind of sound like a diss, but I don't mean this as a diss. I feel like she sings how Robert Plant wishes he could sing.
Well, you know
what I mean?
Well, they were calling them Baby Zeppelin for a while because they did so many Baby Zeppelin covers that they were saying that, and like Anne would figure out how to sing like Robert, and even Nancy was playing like Jimmy, so they were doing some good amount of covers. They actually were playing at a place where Zeppelin actually came in and walked and performed, but
oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
they didn't
sick.
really get to pay them any attention because they went off into the private, the real stars room.
Yeah,
and the male members of the band were able to talk to Robert, and I remember Anne saying she wanted to talk to Jimmy, but he was nowhere to be found, and he was also being tended to by his doctor.
Right. I had a feeling that's where that was going. Jimmy's had some problems, but so they're toured in the Northwest, and now Roger's brother comes into the picture.
The draft dodger.
So this is really interesting. I didn't know this at all. So Roger's brother was drafted, and he was like, fuck that.
I'm out.
He dipped right to Canada.
That's right.
And I was thinking about that. Like, it's so crazy to think that was not even so long ago. There was a time where you would just open your mail and you'd be like, fuck, I'm going to war.
Yeah.
And especially, it's like, for that war, it's like, fuck. Like, if I lived that close to the border, I'd probably just fucking go right over the border. Like,
I think so, too.
Fuck that. So that's what he did.
That's what he did. And the trade-off was pretty good. If you see Roger's property, like if you look at the video, that's some Boku shit.
Yeah. He had some land. He was doing all right. But at one point, he was like, I'm going to sneak back in just to see my brother's band, which is kind of wild. Honestly, just that. You're risking your years of jail to do that.
That is called, I'm just going to leave that up to young and dumb. That's definitely that's some kid shit, some young adult, like 20s, early 20s shit that you just do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
he's like, I know I'm a fugitive, but like I heard my brother's band is pretty good. So like I'm going to see what this is all about. So he hops back down over the border and he sees the band, and him and Anne see each other and are just immediately like,
zoom.
I'm in love.
Yeah.
So obviously Michael can't live in America.
No.
He has to go back. So basically Anne's like, well, I'm coming with you.
Yes, she definitely did. Like she walks in, she said to the band, and she was just like, I'm sorry. Like, but do you see this guy? He's great. Like,
he's a magic man.
He's a magic man. And that's actually who the song was written about. Like, and even to her mom's conversation, because her mom was like, she ends up going to Canada, staying with Michael. And like, even her mom was on the phone and like asking, when she's going to see her and stuff like that. And she was just like, Mom, no. This guy's got a river running through his property.
Yeah,
I'm staying. But the mom says, she's like, I don't know if I said exactly all that, but that's how she saw it in her mind. And that's what she put into the song. Well, you have to kind of embellish with a song, mama.
Yeah,
so,
that's where the fun is.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear a boring ass conversation in a song.
She said, baby, come home. I said, no. That doesn't really sound good.
End song. 5 seconds. But yeah, so then they're living up there, and he's got like a beautiful property in like the woods, and it's like so idyllic and isolated, and they're just, living with each other and just loving each other, blah, 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 blah.
I think Blue Jays bake them pies on Fridays. I think that's what they say.
And you can see the scent wafting into their nostrils, and they fly over to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I've heard as well. So then the rest of the band is like, well, why don't we just fucking go there with her? Because obviously she's really the big talent of the band.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that other people weren't talented in the band. But
yeah, because Roger was killing it on the strings. On the guitar.
Yeah. They were all good.
Yeah,
you don't... A successful band isn't just one person.
Correct.
That's called a solo act.
Yes.
So, but they were just like, all right, well, clearly this has been working out, this heart shit, so we're not just going to stop it. She's only like 10 miles away, or however far. It's not very far.
Not very far.
So they just moved the band to Canada. And then around this time, Anne's kind of like, you know what this band could use? My sister.
A Nancy.
Yeah. And it's really funny. I heard Nancy saying, like I said before, she was in college at the time. I don't remember where she went to college. I think California somewhere.
Oregon.
Basically
California.
Yeah, wherever. Somewhere on the West Coast.
I know it's right above.
It's all the same shit, okay? It's not New York. So she was like away, and she said, I always knew that we were going to be in a band together, so I wanted to have a few years to like live my own life without my older sister.
Without Anne. Oh my gosh. Anne, were you overbearing? Is that why Nancy said this?
So she's just like, all right, well, I've had my time. I'm ready to go rejoin my sister.
Yeah.
So she comes in, and the thing that's so cool about them is that like their talent levels are like equal in their respective fields. Yeah. Like she's such a great singer and she's such a great guitarist that I could only imagine that once she came into the band, they were just like, holy shit. like for real, this has been your sister this whole time? You didn't tell us about this?
Right? It's like gold right then. You just know, I'm sure. Like you got something great going on.
And somebody that really was like, oh, I can't believe you didn't tell me about your sister was Roger.
Roger. The quote was he made a beeline for Nancy.
Yeah, which kind of sounds a little scary to me. That doesn't sound very attractive. Oh, hello. Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, that's intense. But anyway, so then they end up together.
Yes, and Nancy definitely acquiesced because she said, she was young and she had made it through high school, and she said, she was a very good girl, and now she was, quote, looking for some action. So
yes.
Why not?
Yes.
It's a safe space.
We should just rename this podcast Behind the Music Revisited.
Oh, man. Yeah. Wow. No, because I've got some tidbits from the book.
Oh, you got a book? Oh, shit.
I got the tidbits. I can give some details.
Yeah.
Yeah, about, their home life and stuff like that. If you want to know. What do you want to know?
I don't know. I watched just a lot of YouTube videos, and like my favorite was the Behind the Music, but I saw other shit as well.
Yeah.
But it's funny because a lot of the things we do, it's like, actually my mom said this, she sent me the AC/DC Behind the Music.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, did you know this? Did you know that? I'm like, yeah, it's everything that we talked about in the podcast. It's like, anyway. So now they're in Canada.
Yes.
They're all together, like we'll call it Heart Classic.
Yeah, they started out, oh my gosh, they had so many different names for that band, and then they settled in on Heart. It was like White Heart right before it was Heart, and it was Hocus Pocus before it was that, and it was just like the Army before it was anything, and then
they
it
went
came
through a
down
lot.
to Heart, yeah.
And now they got both of the sisters, and they're just fucking the band's at a new level. They get signed, and this is the thing that's funny. Like, I didn't realize all the relationships within the band. Because when I think of Heart, I just think of them two.
Yeah.
I didn't think of all this other shit going on.
I did not know that there were two brothers, and then each of them was dating a brother.
Yeah, the two brothers and the two sisters. It's like, oh, shit, there's a lot going on here.
There is a lot. And, I mean, it's pretty cool. They start playing out of a club, and then they actually get, like, residency in the club. Mm-hmm. And you know what the name of the clubs was?
What?
Lucifer's. Up in Calgary.
It's pretty par for the course, I feel. We're talking about rock music, okay? You ever played their records backwards?
I'm like, what in the world? That's hilarious.
So they're over there, burning it down at Lucifer's. And their like biggest break was that they got asked to open for Rod Stewart.
Yes, they did.
Like the day before or some shit.
Yeah, they they're tired. They're sick and tired of working at that club, Lucifer's, right? So they have to they have a residency for like a week.
Yeah.
And their like fourth day, Lucifer's decided to feed the band. So they fed them some food.
Well, that's nice.
And
how nice of them.
Yeah. Well, Anne was like, she doesn't know if they cleaned the plates with Pine Sol before or what. She was like, but the food tasted like Pine Sol. So she gets up on the stage and she's just like, hey, how are you guys doing tonight? She was like, well, I'm not doing so good because my food tastes like Pine Sol. She was like, because she swore they were trying to poison them because Lucifer's didn't really like them. They were hippies, but they weren't sexy enough. And disco was like the shit then. Like the stylistic had just come in and they would the manager would show them pictures of the stylistics and be like, why can't you dress like them? Why can't you wear matching outfits?
Because we're not them.
Exactly. Like, oh, it would be great if you just turned your music down. You're just a little too loud and this is that. All the while they have them playing for the whole week. So Anne's like, WTF. And then
clearly what we're doing is working and you're paying us to do it. So why don't you just leave us the fuck alone?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so she swore they were trying to poison them. So that's why she was like, well, my food tastes like Pine Sol today.
And apparently that was all it took for the club to have an excuse to get rid of them. Like, you saying our food tastes like Pine Sol? Fuck you. We got the best Lucifer food you ever had.
That's right.
So then they immediately get fired and then immediately get hired to open for Rod Stewart. So I'd say that's a pretty good trade-off.
Because 70s Rod Stewart is the best Rod Stewart there is.
Yeah, he was killing it. He was killing it. And that was obviously a big deal for them to be able to open. And I mean, that was like an arena, right? I mean, that was like a big deal. And their songs were already big there. Wait,
but
so they already had an album out then?
Yes, they already had an album out. And they said, like, the first song, with the Magic Man and everything, that did so well. And now this album was out. And they said that they adhered to the formula. They did everything right. And they weren't blowing up. And they were like, why? And I can understand it, too. It's like, well, we got the girl guitar. We got the guy guitar. We got the girl singer. This guy's obviously managing them right. And it's just like, well, why aren't we blowing up? But then they got this thing for Rod Stewart. So apparently there was something that was happening somewhere else besides exactly where they were.
Right. Outside of their little bubble.
Exactly. So they get on stage for their show. And I forgot, it was a slower song. It wasn't a hard hitting rock song. It was more like a ballad. That's the main song that they put out. And like they get on stage and they're like, people got lighters in the air.
And they were singing along.
Yeah. And like, that's crazy. And then she's like, she turned around and was like, when she stepped on stage, she saw all like the fandom and she turned around to see if one of the bigger acts was behind her or something like that.
She was like, she pulled
what the heck? And she said she looked at the guys in the band and the guys are all like choked up. Like they can't even believe it. Like what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, so they start to play and that's pretty awesome. So yeah. So they said like, she's like, and she remembers everything feeling so right at that moment. So it's like, her and her boyfriend and her sister and her boyfriend, and they're in a band and they got their train and all their stuff. And all the Blue Jays came to visit, the ones that baked them the pies. They're on the train with them. And she's like, I remember everything just feeling so right. In my head, I'm like, dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, when you have a band based off two relationships, sometimes it doesn't really go well. But we'll get to that. So they're blowing up now. So now their first album, Dreamboat Annie, great album.
Yeah.
Got classic songs on there.
Absolutely.
Second album is also classic.
Yes.
Great songs on there.
Yeah.
And they're just getting bigger and bigger. And then there's a little tension coming up because Nancy, it was like, I know I'm like in a relationship with the guitarist, but have you seen the drummer?
Like, Nancy, don't do it, Nats.
Which is, I don't know. It was really funny the way that I heard them describe it because she said that it was basically like she loved the drummer, but it was like a one-way street.
Yeah.
So I just imagine like the drummer just like, he's just doing his thing. Like he's in the band and then all of a sudden she just goes like all up on him and he's just like, oh, okay.
What? Yeah.
I wasn't really going for this, but.
Which is crazy. But she and Roger had broken up because Roger cheated on her and Roger said, he just couldn't believe, he got let drugs and all this stuff and youth, you know what I'm saying, just get in the way. And that's just what happens. And Now he's got to play on stage and watch his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, in love with his drummer.
Who doesn't even care. Or who doesn't even give a fuck. Like,
Huh?
so yeah, so it kind of reaches a point with him where he's on stage. And he's like, you know what? Fuck this. And he just destroys his guitar. And this is the thing, you know, people destroy guitars all the time, but as part of the act.
Right.
And this was not part of the act. He was just like, fuck. I just like, he was like, I'm just so frustrated with my life and everything that's happening. And in the middle of the show, he just fucks his guitar up and walks off the stage.
Yeah.
And everyone's just like, are you serious, bro? Like, did you really just do that?
I know.
So long story short, he wasn't in the band anymore.
He was not there anymore, which is hilarious. She said how Nancy was like, yeah, you know, off stage we didn't really talk to each other because, of course, you know, we had broken up. She's like, but on stage I wanted to put on the show. Like, here, this is a good time. And she's like, every time I would turn to him, he'd be like glaring at her with these cold, dead eyes.
Yeah, that does not sound like a fun environment for a show.
No.
So something was going to happen eventually, and it just so happened that it was his fucking fault, which makes it easy for them to get rid of him.
Yes,
honestly.
it's true. But at the same time, there's another tentacle just like looped in, and like, come on, it's only a matter of time before Michael had to go too.
Yes, so again, we're talking about two brothers dating two sisters. One of them goes like this. Then the other one goes also like that.
Yes.
So then basically they just clean fucking house after that.
Yeah.
They just get rid of everyone.
Yeah.
They fire everybody. Which I also think is interesting because I wonder at what point it was clearly their band. Because again, they didn't start the band.
Right.
But at some point it clearly was them two's band.
Yeah.
The two of theirs band. Mm-hmm. But they just fired everybody. So it's like, it wasn't even really like a debate. Like, no, we're Heart. Like, no.
Well, yeah. I mean, we all know it's Anne. It's Anne. Like, she's going to be the driving force, and all you can do is you can find and hire some virtuosos. Especially, I feel like in areas like that with a lot of hippies and stuff like that, people living on communes and stuff like that. You're definitely going to find a virtuoso easily.
You can, but you know, there's a give and a take to it because obviously there was a lot of things going on with them, not just musically, but also, I mean, you know, at this point they had been a band together for years and they knew each other really well, and they obviously were really good musically together. So it's really hard to just completely get a new band and just stay right where you were. Yeah.
And I mean, their music did kind of decline. And I see why. Like, when they showed live footage of Roger fucking killing it on stage, I was like, whew, you could tell the difference, man. Like, they needed that in the beginning. It wasn't just the two females. It was the energy of the two males too. Like that, that made Heart so much good hard rock, I think.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's like why I think it's interesting. I'm like, so at what point was it just not even debate that like we're the important thing here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's because at some point it must have turned over.
Yeah.
But whatever. I mean, that's not really important to the story, honestly, because what happened.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. And I think like what's marketable, because it was like, you know, okay, so we've got so many male dominated bands. I'm just thinking about industry wise, right? And like what's going to sell was like, all right, we got this siren sounding lady, and then you've got this like virtuoso guitarist lady. It's just like, and then they look good, like, you know what I'm saying? And then most likely what I've gotten from them is like they're really nice and really humble. So it's like they're easy to work with, you know.
Unless you feed them Pine Sol.
Exactly. Then they'll burn your stage, your dressing room, and your stage. They'll probably burn it down.
They'll send Lucifer straight back to hell.
Exactly.
So, well, I want to talk about the industry a little bit because I think it's really interesting how. Sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, actually. So you can't just replace your entire band and then pick up without missing a beat. Like, you have to be crazy talented in your own right to be able to do that. Not everybody is Miles Davis or Frank Zappa that can just have a new band every year and it's no big deal.
Right.
Like, that's just not how it works.
Yeah.
So they got all these people, and it takes a kind of a little while to gel. Mm-hmm. And their career kind of goes in a slump a little bit.
Yeah.
But then by the time they figure it back out again, now it's the 80s, and they're just going all into that 80s shit.
Oh my gosh.
But this is what I want to say about the industry. I think this is really interesting that obviously when you're talking about, you know, like rock music and the way that it's progressed, the first thing that you think about is the music itself.
Yeah.
But something that people don't talk about a lot is the music business and how it evolved with it.
Yeah.
Because you think about rock music, it's like it first became like a thing in like the 50s when it was basically just like teenagers that loved Elvis.
Yeah.
And like this is the thing about teenagers. They don't have any money.
Yeah.
So it was like a very big cultural thing, but not really a huge commercial thing yet.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that just it kind of did boom with Elvis, because then, you know, the Colonel started like working him like a slave when he realized like how lucrative, you know, a rock star is, you know.
But then it goes back to what you were saying before. It just keeps getting bigger, bigger. And then we were talking in the Miles Davis episode, there was some point where they realized, okay, a really big rock band can sell out a stadium,
right,
and make more money in one show than Miles Davis, the greatest jazz player of all time, can make playing jazz clubs multiple shows a night for a week.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting the way that the industry is and the way that it markets it. Because in the 60s, it was all like peace and love, like our music can change the world, blah, blah, blah. And like that was clearly what they're going for, not only in the music, but in the industry as well.
Yeah.
So you could do something like get 500,000 people to some
Yeah.
farm in upstate New York.
Absolutely. And just charge them like $1, $2 each, you know,
Right.
and that's nothing, you know, even back then, you know,
Right.
like their first gig, and which is crazy about how much money you make. I want to go to Canada to make some money and to perform, because they made $60 their first gig in the 1960s. I'm like, where are you going to pay us now, Canada? Call us up. Or we'll call you.
Yeah, we'll call. So that was all what was happening in America too. It was like, oh, this is the revolution. We're going to change things, blah, 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 blah. And they're able to really sell and market on that. But then after a couple years, it's like, well, shit hasn't really changed. Which, unfortunately, is pretty much the story of America ever since JFK got assassinated, but we don't have to get into all that. But so now we're in the 70s, and it's like, well, this peace and love shit kind of burned itself out. So I
Yeah.
feel like in the 70s, they were kind of like the industry was also kind of trying to figure out what the big thing was.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big reason why the music in the 70s was so great and so diverse, because they didn't really know what they were going for yet. They were
Yeah.
trying a bunch of things out.
Everybody was. Yeah. Yeah. And it was more about the sound.
Exactly.
And then the people just, you know, you just happened to have some good looking people, and that was cool and that was great. But those good looking people were about their music, like, you
Right.
know what I mean? About their sound and stuff. So
Right.
that was a great thing. And like, Nancy and Ann do talk about like the 80s and going into like the whole image part of it, you know, and how the video kills the
Right,
radio
right.
star, like, you know.
Well, this is what I'm saying. I think it's so interesting how it progresses. So 70s, like the industry is still trying to like kind of figure out, you know, what's selling. So they're down to sign whoever.
Yeah.
That if the music is good, and then it would be like, oh, maybe what you do is the next big thing.
Yeah.
Maybe what you do is the next big thing. I don't know. So we're gonna sign a lot of people. We're gonna see what happens. As time goes on, you get into the 80s, and what's happening in America in the 80s is, you know, fucking Reagan, you know, Wall Street, greed is good,
Yeah.
you know, just money, consumerism.
Yeah.
So even the music business is like, well, we need everything to be big. We
Yeah.
need the biggest
Hair.
songs, the biggest hair, the biggest everything. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it becomes so commercial, and it becomes such a big business that it really wasn't so much in the 60s and the 70s.
Right.
That now it's like, oh, well, we're going to make the most commercial thing. We're going to sell the most money. We know what it is. This is what it is. Everyone, if you want to make money, you got to look like this. You know
you
what
gotta
I
do
mean?
And that was the hardest thing for like them and a lot of other stars to deal with. Not just like, well, Anne was starting to gain weight, and for her that was an issue, and like for even, you know, it changed the mindset of even her bandmates, who would be like, man, like, you know, we would make a lot more money if she would lose 20 pounds and stuff like that. And she had like no idea really that she didn't feel like she looked that bad, but because the industry was so focused on like looks and everything like that, then like she felt pressure not only to be thinner, but she felt pressure to act act like, and Nancy did too, to act like the images that they were in the video. You know what I'm saying? Like in one of the videos that I watched, they said like the video where they pour liquid gold into the mold and then Nancy just comes out, like, you know what I mean? But when she's speaking and she's talking, you're doing an interview, she's like the sweetest.
She's so like calm.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, she's not some freaking crazy person. And then just like, and a lot of that triggered like Anne's probably like younger issues and stuff like that, because the stories that she tells about having to lose weight or not being thin is like crazy. First of all, the doctors in the 60s were like, have her on a diet for a month of just peaches and water. Like,
Jesus Christ.
Like, what in the world?
I can't eat an apple?
Like, oh my gosh. I was just like, that's insane. And like, things
that's sound
like
medical advice.
That's some sound, right? Those are the doctors that probably smoked a cigarette while they were in there.
Was that the doctor that was hanging out with Jimmy Page?
Probably, you know, and just like a whole bunch of other things. She was like, her mom used to buy her clothes from like the bigger girls store, and the bigger girls store was called Chubette. Like, what the fuck?
Holy shit. I didn't know that. That's wild.
Insane. So, you know, a lot of issues that she had just got revisited, you know, as she got into adulthood with you, MTV. God.
Damn it. But, and that's so sad also because of like, even like you think of like the timing of that. Because like, if she was that now, she would be celebrated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, look at her. She doesn't care. She's just doing what she wants to do. And she's a beautiful example and all that shit.
Yeah.
And I think it's so sad because it's not like her weight ever affected the performances.
No.
And that's what's supposed to matter. Like, it really shouldn't. Like, if it got to the point that she was, like, so unhealthy that it was affecting, like, her stage presence or her singing, I understand why you'd be like, hey, like, this is kind of starting to affect things a little. But if you're still doing the same shit, who cares?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
But, yeah, so 80s was quite a time.
Oh, man.
So they went full into it. I mean, some would say they sold out. During that time, they went for the hair. They went for even the sound of the music is different.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, talk shit, but when I think of heart, I think of 70s heart.
Me too. I think of some hard rocking hits. And, kind of to be fair, it's like when you watch your band turn 80s, I think that's what a term that we should call it. Like look at Jimmy Page and Robert Plant separately when they turned 80s, early 90s, like that. Like, I'm just like, man, like, what'd you do to our friends?
Yeah. And,
a lot of people, even the Stones, like, their comeback in the, like, mid to late 80s, it didn't really sound, it didn't sound like them, A lot of people, Diana Ross, all these people were coming back, and it was just like, man, like, you could just tell it was for the video. And that's kind of sad.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's really more about the industry than anything else. Because at that point, and with MTV, it had become so streamlined. Like, this is what we need to do to make money. So you do this, you're going to sell, and you're going to make the money.
Yeah.
But it's like the thing that we always talk about, this is a recurring theme on the podcast, is that the thing that always works the best in the long run is authenticity.
Yeah.
Like, you could change your style in the short run, and it can work out well for you. And it did work out very well for them. I mean, their songs went huge. They had their first #1 song. They had their best-selling album.
They did.
But now here we are, and when we think about heart, we don't think about that.
No, like, all those ballads are great, like, and I remember them almost in real time, like, but like, no, I mean, 70s heart, and even they said it, like, they were hippies, like, they actually, their older sister lived on a commune and stuff like that, like, and when you look at their 70s pictures, they were sexy, they were very feminine, like, there was nothing, like, to make you feel like, oh god, these girls are freaking dirty and just go, like, nothing like that, like, they could totally sell, but like the 80s just wanted more, man, more. The
80s just all about more. And that's why you think about it now, it's like the only bands from the 80s that are still like big now is like Motley Crue, who was like the top of that shit. They were the absolute peak of that.
They were.
And then like GNR, which was a completely separate thing.
Yeah.
This is what we're saying. Like, the bands that still made it from that time were the ones that were doing their own shit. Like Metallica, GNR, they were never doing that. Right. But all those other fucking bands like Rat, Poison, fucking Whitesnake, no one cares about them now. You know what I mean? Like, am I out of line?
Call us if you care. Call us.
Yeah, tell us leave a review. Tell us if you give a shit about Poison in 2022. Like, come on. But anyway, I'm going off on a rant here. But yeah, so they come back. they do reach like their greatest commercial success, but it is, it's kind of a trade-off because they are losing a little bit of what made them heart.
Yeah.
But they are back at their greatest success. And when they were in their like down point, they were like, shit, if our next record doesn't do well, like we're done.
Yeah.
Like we're out of the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it did do well because they did those things.
Yes.
So it's like you can't judge them for that.
No,
you know what I
not
mean?
really. Especially when they come from a world where like their mom was a total homemaker and like they have nothing wrong with that, but they in their mind like the professions for women were like other than them singing, it was like, okay, well, you become a waitress or you become a teacher or you become a nurse, and I just can't see them in those professions. Like they are meant to be like on stage, like so they just had to do what they do. They did, they've had like photo shoots where Annie Leibovitz tries to get them to take their tops off for a long time and like they don't want to do it, and then they end up doing it. And I mean, it's just unfortunate, but like that is what happens in the industry.
Yeah, especially during that time.
Yeah.
So they reach their greatest commercial success, and then I guess they're like, all right, well, we've done this enough, and then they fired their whole band again. Which is so funny to me that they could just be like, you know what? You've served your purpose. Bye, guys.
Heart, you got no heart.
This is our band. If you forgot, so you're all gone. And then at this point, around this time, so Nancy starts going out with Cameron Crowe.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even know about.
Me neither. I literally found this out days ago. I was like, really?
And they're still married.
No.
Right? Or no?
It's just recently divorced. Like pretty
that's
recent.
sad. Fuck. I'm sorry. I take it back.
Yeah. I mean, and not super recent. It's more like 2010, I think. But it's within the 2000s and it's within the 10s.
Right. So then they kind of go off in their separate ways a little bit after, that point. Ann does a solo album and Nancy starts actually scoring Cameron's films.
Yeah.
Which is dope.
Yes.
That's really cool. So she gets into like a whole different aspect of music and composition than the rock band.
Right.
So that's dope. I really respect the hell out of that. And then she starts knowing how to produce things as well. And she just gets like really into the whole, like everything of music, not just the playing guitar, you know what I mean?
Yeah. They have a studio now out in Seattle, and like some of our favorite grunge artists have like, recorded there, and it's just really, really awesome. And it's just, what else is awesome to see, all the what we will probably call the children of heart, like all the people that came out of Seattle after them that love them so much. That just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not even Nancy and them, and that just brings the tears to my eyes because it's like they're such hard rockers, and their music is so like gritty, and I'm talking about the grunge sound that came out, and then like to like pay homage to like people like Nancy and Ann, it's just like, well, thank goodness, you know what I mean?
And that's another thing that I didn't really realize until we were researching this. I was like, damn, I guess they really were one of the biggest Seattle bands before grunge. Like, and they even I saw an interview with Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains. He was just like, yeah, like they were the shit. Like we loved them.
Yeah.
Like them doing it, we were like, oh, maybe a band from Seattle can do something.
That's
you know what
insane.
I mean?
That's great. That's so great. And then for them to love them like that, and like, they said that like everywhere they go, it doesn't matter if it was years ago or if it's now, somebody always asks them like, well, what's it like to be a female rock band? Like, you know what I mean? And this example really shows that they're just a good music band. Like, you know what I'm saying? Where, like Jerry and freaking Chris Cornell and freaking Nirvana, like they're all happy to like be under their wing or under their umbrella. Like they just love them as a band. Like nobody's like, oh yeah, well those chicks are dope. Like people are
Chris is like, they rock just as hard as fucking anybody.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
Yeah.
And that's why we like them.
Yeah.
If they didn't rock that hard, we're not going to like them just because they're girls.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's the cool thing about it. Like, I love that.
So then, so now they have all kinds of like musical knowledge. They have their studio, and they start a new project to just completely get away from Heart. They're like, we've done this. We need
to death.
It's they felt like they were in kind of a box in a way.
Yes.
They've been kind of like not chewed up and spit out by the industry, but the industry kind of took them for a ride. They were like, you know what? We're doing our own thing now. We're not fucking with you. We're not doing whatever you tell us we need to do. We're going to finance our own thing, and we're going to do whatever the hell we want.
Yeah. Would you say the industry gave heart disease? Or a heart attack.
No. We'll go with heart disease. It's a little more mild. You know what I mean? Fuck, I can't remember what the name of the second band was right now, though.
No, and it's getting in. I'm sorry, Tom Petty's band is getting in my way. But I don't remember the second band, but they needed it to get away from Heart. And I don't want to pull it up. You guys, let us know.
Yeah, tell us about how stupid we are in the comments.
We can't remember everything. We're just Yanks.
Yeah, we're just a bunch of daft Yanks, according to the YouTube commenters. Hey, there's a little truth in all the jokes, you know? But, yeah, so they do their side project, and they come back and they do another Heart album. And it's funny because so they also did their solo albums, but they were both kind of like, it's not as fun doing this by ourselves.
No.
Like, I want to do it with my sister. Like, we just, like, it just works.
Yeah.
And there's something about, like, siblings in music that they're just always, like, able to be on the same page. But for a lot of the time.
Not if you're Oasis, but yes.
Not if, fuck them. But their shit is just ridiculous. But, like, you know, we did an AC/DC episode lately.
And that was wonderful.
They were just always like, we're doing this.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have another option. Like, we've been doing this for our whole life. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And they're kind of, like, on the same thing as well. They're like, nah, like, we know how we work together, and this is not something that you could just get somewhere else.
Right. Yeah.
So they come back. They do another album, which is great, that Nancy produces.
Yeah.
Which is sick.
Yeah.
And, they're just like, I don't know. They just never let anybody fucking stop them, really.
Not really, not at all. What lets you know that they don't let a lot of people stop them? So when they were like, here's a flashback story. So when they were in high school, they used to go to this church, this Protestant church, and their girl band at the time had gotten like a lot of like recognition. Like, so they played like the Youth Sunday like concert, and they were about like a few hundred people there at the concert. So at the church, they decide to do The Doors, When the Music's Over.
Oh.
So they did
the music's over.
Exactly. They did a whole bunch of covers. They did, Ronnie Spector. They did Aretha Franklin.
R.I.P.
To Ronnie Spector and Aretha Franklin.
Yeah.
And so they decided to do The Music's Over. Now, when I heard this interview, when I heard like Anne start to say this, I know this song, When the Music's Over, front and back, okay? I know
when the music's over.
The pauses, the words, everything. So right away, I thought about the part which gets half of the congregation to get up and leave the church immediately, okay? So there's a pause, and then Anne goes, cancel my subscription to the resurrection. People were probably like,
damn, I would have loved to hear her sing that, because now I'm thinking in my head, did she like try to sing it low like Jim, or did she just go all high with it like in her normal like style? You know what I mean?
And that's what, like, how they said how they don't, not that they don't like it, it's just that they always have to answer, what's it like to be a female rocker?
Yeah.
What I would ask them was just like, well, what was it like to like see Jim Morrison? Like, what was it like to like see like Robert Plant and them and see the Stones? Like, what was that like? Because they were with them the whole time. Like, Nancy used to give Pearl Jam's manager, I forgot his name. I think it's Kelly. He became Pearl Jam's manager, but at the time he was her neighbor, and she was giving him guitar lessons.
Oh, shit.
At first, Anne was, but then Anne got tired of it, and Nancy was like, well, she took over the lessons. And the two of them used to they used to sing Elton John songs. Like, Nancy would play, and like, they would sing and stuff like that. And then just to flash forward like 10, 15 years. And now they're actually both in the club with Elton John and with Bernie, his manager. And Bernie's trying to seduce Nancy, trying to give her a whole bunch of cocaine all the time and stuff
Bernie
like that.
was the songwriter, right?
Yes. Yeah. And she's like, and then Bernie's partner at the time, Elton's partner at the time was flirting with Kelly, who, because he was gay. Elton wasn't openly gay, but his partner at the time,
who was a guy or a girl?
No, his boyfriend. It was a guy. It was a guy who was trying to flirt with Kelly, who was a guy too. Kelly was a guy too.
Oh, my bad. Yeah.
So one is chasing the Kelly down, and I'm pretty sure that's his name. Kelly down. Yeah, because it's not Christy. So it's definitely Kelly. Chasing him down while Bernie's trying to seduce Nancy. Like all those things, like that's really interesting to me because they wanted to be like the greats, just like they wanted to be they were like called Baby Zeppelin, and they wanted to be like Led Zeppelin, and everybody used to say that you should hear Ann Wilson's version of Stairway to Heaven, like even back then when she was young and stuff like that. And then
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool. Yeah, so then what you're referring to is when she sang Stairway to Heaven at the the Kennedy
Center Honors, yeah.
With Jason Bonham on drums.
Yes.
Which I'm not gonna lie, I started watching that video last night, and then I was just like, I can't listen to Stairway to Heaven again.
No,
I just can't do it.
The video came up, and I was like, I don't want to watch. I don't need to watch this performance.
I've seen it.
And
I know it's
like,
good.
Yeah, that's a one time for me, but I mean, it's a great song. I don't really get tired of Stairway to Heaven, the song, that much, but like certain like performances and stuff. Like I watched Heart get inducted into the Hall of Fame. I watched their speech and stuff like that, but I didn't need them to see them perform their songs. I was just like, I don't need to watch this because, I mean, not that it's not bad. I mean, it's not good or anything like that. It's just that, you know.
Yeah. No, I can't listen to Stairway to Heaven at all anymore. I just can't.
That's hilarious.
Like,
I could still listen to it. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just like I can still listen.
I just
know
can't.
A lot of people can't listen to it anymore, but I can.
But she pulled it off.
That's right.
She pulled it off. They both pulled it off.
They both pulled it off.
That's the important thing. That's really what we're getting at here.
No, the important thing is Jimmy Page, call me. That's more important than anything else. Right?
Robert, call me. John Paul Jones, call either whoever. It's all good.
Either one.
But yeah, so yeah, Hart has a legendary career. Lots of drama, lots of ups and downs, lots of industry bullshit.
Yeah.
But they just never let it stop them because it's all about sisterhood with them. I mean, the thing is, like we said, it's like, yeah, they write great music together, but at the end of the day, they're family.
Yeah.
And they're going to be family no matter what.
Right.
So it's like these things like, you know, the industry bullshit, like, you know, them like giving more camera time to Nancy than Ann. It's like, that's not going to tear them apart. They're fucking sisters. Like, they're family. Like, that's all just outside noise to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's great. And I don't know. Their music is just so good. Like, it's so, like, every time that one of their classic songs come on, I just get hype.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm just, like, you know, in the car and then I hear, boom, ba-na-na-na-na-na, I'm like, oh, let's go.
Yeah. And then they tell you how those songs were written, and that's really cool. I know Anne wrote Barracuda because there was that rumor about the two sisters, like, sleeping with each other and stuff like that. She goes home and she writes that. Right? She puts all that rage into her music, and that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And you can feel it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Heart, we heart you.
You know who else we heart?
Who?
Everybody that's listening.
Woohoo.
Or watching if you're on YouTube, because we also do this on YouTube. But yeah, so if you like what we do, go to patreon.com/musicmaniacs.
Yeah.
Support the podcast for any amount that you want to keep us doing this.
Yeah.
We will read your name and we'll
read your address out to everyone as well, and your phone number.
Yeah, whatever info you want us to share with the world. But we'll read your name, and we want to say right now, huge shout out to our first official patron on the Patreon, Donna, big shout out to you. Basically, if you join the Patreon, we'll shout you out. You get to suggest episodes for us to do. You get to vote on what episodes we're going to do. So you get to have like a big part in, you know, our decisions and all that.
Yep.
Any like bonus content that we do, if we like want to, you know, do a cover version of a song or something,
sure.
Or if we want to do like some, you know, add-ons to the podcast, we're going to put it all on Patreon. So it's going to be a lot of, you know, extra content for you to check out.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, it's really just the best way to help continue to keep this podcast going.
Yeah. Donna, we love you, girl.
Yeah. So I don't know.
She paid for that.
Is there anything else that we should say about Heart? Anything else we want to tell the people before we sign off? Or
tell us something that we may not know about Heart. You know, just tell us what's up. I mean, these ladies look beautiful. I feel so connected. You know what? I wanted to say one crazy thing about them. You know, the spirit of them. Like, I wasn't joking when I said these axe wielding scalpers. Like, so it turns out on their like colonial side, they have an ancestor who was kidnapped by some Native Americans at the time, right? Because the French had bribed some Native Americans way back in the like 1600s. And this was her family. This is like her 10 times great grandmother, Anne and Nancy, not just Anne. Sorry, Anne and Nancy.
Right.
Right.
That's how that goes.
So like some French colonialists bribed some Native Americans to ransack this town of like Puritans, right? And it turns out one of these people was Anne and Nancy's family member, like their ancestral grandmother. And so they kidnap all these people. While they kidnap them, they start killing their babies and all this stuff like that. And then they tie them down. And like their ancestors tied up. And now she waits for one of the Native Americans to go to sleep. And then she gets up and then she kills that person's baby. And then once the other person that was kidnapped with her saw her get free and was able to kill somebody, then they both started like killing those people. And she like cut scalps off and everything with a hatchet, a tomahawk that she had stolen from one of the people. Like, you see, this is all because of the French. No, I'm just kidding. You're pitting people against each other. No, just kidding. But she says that in her book that like they weren't the first people in their family to wield an axe. Like it was actually somebody who actually did.
Oh,
and it comes down the line, and there you go. So and it was rumored that she was also even like a bit of a witch, but I don't think that. I think she was just a woman that tried to save her own life and just like
So she scalped the scalpers.
Yes, she did. She definitely did.
Damn, that's wild.
I know, it's a crazy story.
No, I never heard of that.
Yeah.
I never heard that before.
Yeah, they've got stories that they actually, it's like in history too, like it's in a history book, which is interesting.
Whoa, that's wild.
Yeah, her last name is Dustin, like that's their maternal side.
Yeah,
like, it's very interesting.
All right, shit. Well, I had no idea about that. So if y'all have any dope stories about Heart, leave us a review or a comment. Not only would it be cool for us, but it'll help boost us in the algorithm so more people can know about us. Tell your friends about us if you like us. We're Side After Dark. This has been Music Maniacs.
Yeah.
And we'll see you soon.
See ya.